I'm Ulrika Viberg, and this is SEO in 2023.
Ulrika, what is your number one SEO tip for 2023?
I was thinking about giving you a lot of different tips, but when I thought about this hard enough, I thought that doing a holistic SEO together with the marketing department and the UX department, that is my number one tip. And you might ask me, why would I think that? Why did I came up with that?
Absolutely. I was also thinking you wanted to give lots of different tips. You wanted just to be in the book by yourself, didn't you? You didn't want anyone else to be in the book at all. Yes.
Yeah. No, that I'm giving place for other people as well.
Okay, so what does user-centric holistic approach, what does that mean in practice?
Yeah, so Google nowadays, I mean, if you look at the last couple of algo updates, they've been more or less and more directly these days, as of a few days ago. They're pointing out that you need to be user-focused. And they also want to get the web more friendly and truthful, and they do so by pushing out for user-centric content that complies with the EAT update, that it should be well-designed and accessible for people with hearing and sight impairments. It should also be compliant with Core Web Vitals, mobile-friendly, etc., and everything. And all of that translates to, it needs to be good user experience, and you do that with a user journey or a customer journey. Also has to be UX friendly or good UX. So working together with the marketing departments and the UX departments with SEO, that gives a holistic view of the SEO, that is creating something on your website. It makes you think, what is it my user really want? And what are they asking for? And less of what is it that I want to tell them.
So in a large marketing department, who tends to own the user journey?
That is different, but that is probably the CMO who is owning the user journey. but there are a lot of people, and maybe I'm just bullshitting now. I don't know, because I haven't really worked in marketing departments in that way, or I have, but I'd never paid attention to it in that sense.
I like asking challenging questions, yeah, but like...
You did. You started with a challenge, like organizational wise, I don't know.
Well, the thing, it's possibly different in each organization, but it seems like a pertinent question to me, with user journeys becoming more and more important, and obviously different departments within marketing having different perspectives on what a user journey should mean. SEO is thinking, a user journey needs to mean something straight away and get people's attention and attract them, keep them on the site. UX people thinking, it needs to encourage people through the site and ensure that they know the context of where they're sitting there as well. And traditional marketing people will be thinking, look, it's all about brand positioning here and ensuring that people are understanding what we do. But it just seemed to me that there wasn't one distinct, singular perspective on what a user journey is.
No, there is not. There is an interpretation on each organization or company. I work with a lot of companies or larger companies, and they have not always a clear user journey or customer journey done, that is something that I provide or help them with the workshops to do that. And usually then it's the CMO who is taking the lead, but everyone is involved. And I also invite the whole marketing department, but also the sales department, both like traditional marketing and digital marketing, but also sales, because they are very close to their customers. Maybe more so than the marketing departments are. So then we create the user journey or the customer journey, and it's something that they talk about throughout the whole organization. While they once they have it and they work through it, everyone is getting aware of it. It's a strategic document that they need to follow in everything they do.
And I love your involvement of sales as well. But I think initially we mentioned UX and traditional marketing, and they need to have a significant input into it certainly as well. So when SEOs are having conversations with, let's take the UX team to begin with, what can SEOs learn from the UX team and what can SEOs teach the UX team?
So I'll start with what we can learn from the UX team, and that is they are very user-centric, and second sentence they say they have, what is the user expecting? So that we need to learn that. What is it that user expecting? And then we need to create content, but not only content, but also a strategic way of flowing through the website. And that also builds like what kind of architecture on the site are we recommending? Because yeah, it has to translate into the user journey as well, or it should. It's easier for the user to travel through a website and taking in the information. If it is designed from a user perspective, what are they expecting? But that also translates into each and every individual page. That what is it about? And we look at a lot on search intents. What have the user searched for, and what are they expecting to land on? What kind of information are they expecting to see? But not only information, but also how are we presenting it? And how are we presenting it in a way that we want them to do something after they have read this information? And what is that we want to do? And here comes the internal linking in terms of call to actions and everything. And maybe we have a semantic cluster that we want the user to walk through or get more information about. And how do we make that easier for the user through? And here is UX, where how do we place things, and where do we place them, and what do we call them? But also for SEO, how are we then adding internal links, and where does that matter in terms of SEO, but also in terms of the user and what they would expect to do next, and if they want more information, etc., etc. We also need to provide them with that.
And what about from a traditional marketing perspective? There are possibly even offline marketing principles and other more conventional marketing strategies that SEOs need to learn a little bit more and can use whatever they learn from this to improve their knowledge of user journeys. So what can SEOs learn from more traditional marketing departments about user journeys?
I can speak for myself, and because I never worked with traditional marketing myself, but I've worked in departments who have done some traditional marketing, and it's the understanding of the persona and for example, who are they, and how do you paint up a persona? How do you categorize that, for example? How are our personas or our users? How are they treating information? Who are they? Again, what are they expecting to see? And how are they then processing what they see in traditional media or traditional marketing efforts? And how can we pick that up and continue that journey into the digital area where we are? They will for sure search things they have seen in traditional marketing campaigns.
And while we're talking about conversations that SEOs have with UX teams and traditional marketers, perhaps it's worthwhile touching on training these other departments about SEO. So if an SEO is in charge of conducting a training session for either a UX team or traditional marketers, but basically marketers that don't know a lot about SEO, what information is key to impart, and what information should you not talk about because it's probably a little bit too technical or not that essential?
I usually try to tag into their domain, so talk about with their keywords, so to say, so that they can take it in. I use a lot of metaphors because for someone who has never done SEO can be very theoretical and abstract. And to help them understand what I'm talking about, I use both metaphors and like I try to describe it with situations they understand and are familiar with. But I then also talk about, because SEO and marketing, they meet and they overlap a lot when it comes to the user and what the user is expecting and all of these things. And those are also ranking signals. So, and I say that these things that you also work with are important to us. It's ranking signals. The customer journey is also important for SEO, and I tell how and why, etc. But I tend to leave out the technical parts because that usually confuses more than help. And us SEOers tend to go into more a lingo variation of talking when we talk technical. Then that is a nice way to kill a conversation. And we don't want that.
Absolutely. But I think most technical SEOs don't even realize that they've killed the conversation. They keep on talking.
Yeah, exactly. Then just keep on ranting. I can be that person for sure.
Can relate with that as well, but hey ho. Lastly, in relation to user journeys, I think many SEOs can perhaps be a little bit guilty of just focusing on driving traffic and not that whole user journey experience. So what can SEOs do to do a better job of attracting perhaps repeat traffic or traffic to different stages of the user journey?
So I stopped just measuring traffic some time ago because, that is what we can influence the most. But we can also influence if we take the next step and work a little bit more holistic. How would we recommend the content to be and the internal linking, etc., so that we can make the user proceed in their decision making of something, so in the user journey. And this way, we can have a higher impact on goal completions and conversions, giving the user what they are expecting. Also, will most highly create a relationship between the user and the brand. And that means we're lazy people, right? If we have a relationship with a brand that we once trusted, then we kind of tend to go back to that brand when we want that service or product again. If we were happy. If we were not happy, we do a new search next time the need arises. But if we were happy, then we would probably go back to that brand. So it's crucial to make the customers happy. I mean, that should be self-explanatory, but it's not always. And we can help with that by doing recommendations for content, but also internal linkings and menus and how you kind of walk through the website. And of course, it should load fast and be nice and, all of that, and not jump up and down and have lots of ads in the way, etc., etc.
And a sneaky additional question. If we're accepting that people have multiple touch points, people consider making a purchase before actually making a purchase, so they'll probably come to a website from lots of different sources, and there are different impacts on that consideration whether or not someone actually decides to make a purchase. So what are your thoughts on attribution, on how you can actually attribute SEO, top of funnel, mid funnel, other channels as well? Are there any optimum models nowadays? Are there any pieces of software that you would recommend to help just show the kind of information that decision makers need in terms of the value of different channels?
Yeah, that was a sneaky one. I would say we use contributing models or attribution modeling. That is what the name is. We build attribution modelings in Google Analytics to see what channel brought the best traffic and where did it attribute. But in terms of what is missing, those models won't really show that. So then you would have to do heat maps and everything, see how are people interacting with the page, and actually look at the user. Maybe you could have doing some live testing with live users and ask them questions meanwhile. I mean, you can do that in smaller tests. They don't have to be super big or very costly, but it's very useful to do that and then you see live, what are the users liking and how are they interpreting the pages that you want to test.
Yeah, I love it because, again, SEOs love data, but data is a historical representation or a historical snapshot of what happened in the past, but it's not necessarily going to tell you how users are going to behave in the future or where the opportunities are. You have to discover those opportunities for yourself. So I love the fact that you brought it back to, okay, I try to identify what users are struggling with at the moment. Use things like heat maps to find out where they're dropping off. And those could perhaps be the biggest opportunities in the future. So Ulrika, you've shared what SEOs should be doing in 2023. So now let's talk about what SEOs shouldn't be doing. So what's something that's seductive in terms of time, but ultimately counterproductive? Something that SEOs shouldn't be doing in 2023?
I would love it if SEOs would stop to do isolated keyword optimizations based on search volume because it is counterproductive for the user journey and the decision making as a whole. It's more like isolated like touchdowns on like a one pager and what are they doing then, etc., etc. And this comes from someone who wants to rank number 1 or number 1 to 3 on a specific high volume keyword, and just doing that by itself, I think that is counterproductive. If you, on the other hand, would create like a cluster around that keyword, and you actually think about something that you want to do around that keyword more, so that more users could feel that, yes, this is what I expected to find, and this is actually helpful for me, then that would be the next level to go. But isolated practices of doing just one thing and then really fighting to do that and telling people that this is how you should do it. I hope that ends in 2023.
Ulrika Viberg is agency owner and senior SEO consultant at unicorn.se. Ulrika, thanks so much for being part of SEO in 2023.
Thank you so much. I loved being here.
Get your copy of SEO in 2023, the book, over at seoin2023.com.